The Bicol region is defined by a violent geological reality, a landscape of constant tectonic creation and destruction, where the earth is reshaped overnight. For the ancient Bicolanos, survival meant navigating a gauntlet of environmental threats. Relentless typhoons, frequent earthquakes, and deadly predators made the peninsula a deeply hostile home. To make sense of these cataclysms, they turned to geomythology. By encoding real-world disasters into the stories of terrifying monsters, they created a framework for understanding their volatile world. The Ibalong epic acts as the ultimate expression of this framework. It is an ancient survival manual that maps human progression against the backdrop of a changing, often dangerous planet. The Ibalong survives as a 60-stanza fragment, preserved by Spanish missionaries who transcribed the verses of the native bard Handyong. The epic anchors its events in the southeastern peninsula of Luzon, a rugged landmass that early explorers referred to as Tierra de Ibalong. The heroes of these verses find their real-world counterparts in the tattooed pintados of the Visayas and the heavily adorned nobles of pre-colonial Tagalog society. Survival for these historical warriors required a sophisticated martial culture, utilizing weapons like the bifurcated Campolan sword to maintain a foothold in their territories. These warriors faced a world so unpredictable that their history was recorded not as a mere migration, but as a desperate struggle against terrifying monsters. The first hero, Baltog, embodies the earliest era of this struggle. He represents a time of pure physical survival, where humans first attempted to claim space in the wild land of Ibalong. His arrival was met with an immediate threat, the Tandayag boar. This massive beast systematically destroyed the first human crops, threatening the community's future. Baltog killed the boar with his bare hands and displayed its jawbones on a talisai tree, marking the land as human territory. This victory allowed foragers to become permanent settlers. For the first time, humans were no longer just passing through, they were beginning to stay. The second hero, Handyong, faced more complex environmental challenges. His era was plagued by rock-crushing sharks and swarms of avenging beasts that terrorized both the sea and the land. This era peaked with a cataclysm. A massive deluge brought by the god Onos triggered simultaneous volcanic eruptions, burying the landscape in floodwaters and ash. Amidst the wreckage, Handyong encountered Oriole. A half-serpent demigoddess, she embodied the cunning, shape-shifting unpredictability of the natural world. Handyong broke the cycle of conflict by choosing a different path. He allied with Oriole, utilizing her knowledge to navigate the lingering chaos. This alliance indicates a shift toward a collaborative relationship with the environment. Rather than attempting to beat back every natural force, humanity began to learn and mirror the rhythms of the peninsula. Stability followed this era of cooperation. Ibalong saw the introduction of codified laws and a syllabary, allowing the people to document their history and establish a formal society. The population scaled through agriculture. They learned to domesticate the water buffalo, using them to harrow the flooded fields and secure a consistent food supply. As the culture matured, so did its technology. The wooden loom allowed for the mass production of textiles, creating a more sophisticated material culture. This phase established the infrastructure of civilization. With the environment tamed and technology advancing, the region entered a period of profound cultural growth. The final hero, Bantong, inherited this organized world, but one last threat remained: a creature named Rabot, capable of turning anyone who saw it into stone, still haunted the outskirts of Ibalong. Bantong used intellect over brawn. He tracked the beast for months, waiting for it to fall into a deep sleep before creeping into its cavern. With a single strike of his bolo, Bantong killed the sleeping creature. It was a victory won through patience and strategy. Bantong's success marks the point where human ingenuity neutralized the last unpredictable force of the wilderness. Bantong returned to the city with the body of Rabot, presenting the grotesque proof of his victory to Handyong. But the epic ends on a note of profound sorrow. Handyong, the warrior king who had organized the conquest of Ibalong, looked down at the dead monster and stood in stunned, heavy silence. This reaction goes against every expectation of a hero's return. There is no joy in the king, only a deep sense of disturbance. Handyong's grief forces us to look at the collateral damage of human progress. It asks if the total removal of the wild also removes something essential from the human spirit. The death of Rabot meant that the primordial, untamed magic of the peninsula was gone. The very thing that forced the Bicolanos to become strong and inventive had been permanently erased. This is the cost of dominion. Building a structured world requires the loss of the wilderness that once defined it. The Spanish manuscript ends here, leaving the story unresolved and the moral weight of the king's silence hanging in the air. The Ibalong survives as the foundational record of the Oregon spirit, the fierce Bicolano resilience that built a home out of ash and fire, forever carrying the memory of the monsters they left behind.